Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Craig Burley and Shaka Hislop here in the studio. We will be talking league football tonight. You'll be happy to
It's
hear.
over.
It is over.
It's over.
You
Till the
be
next
sure.
time. International football, the drain on everybody's life, particularly us. Is it that bad?
It's not that bad.
Well, is that bad? Yeah, I'm not.
Okay,
We're
we're done with that. We've got a lot to look forward to this weekend, including the big one in Germany. It is Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund. Alexis Nunes. Many of our team members are over in Germany ahead of it, sampling the local cuisine and some Bavarian delights.
Well, Kay, I know you guys are missing out and are massively jealous of us right here at the Paulaner Brewery, getting ready for the Klassiker the right way with a couple of these beers in our hand. And knowing that Craig is over there, Derek, I'm pretty sure Craig could put back a couple of these.
Well, I know Craig very well. We worked together for many years, and I'm fairly certain my old co-commentary partner would love to be where we are right now, Alexis. Shaka, I'm not so sure about, you know.
Aww.
Clean living man that he is, but Craig, yeah, he'd want to be here.
Clean living man, that Shaka is. We need to show you Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Shaka, and then you'll see clean living. But anyways, we're not just here to have a good time and drink all of the Paulana. We're counting down to the Klassiker now. An interesting one, of course, Thomas. I have to speak about Harry Kane because we know that he has been such an important part of Bayern Munich. He's just tumbling records for fun. Like, it seems like he could score goals with his eyes closed. And the way that he and Bayern are going, what is the ceiling?
I don't know. I even going back when they signed him, you know, for a lot of money, I thought they're taking a risk here. Player his age, is he still going to score at this rate? And he just gets better and better. You know, we speak to him almost after every single game, and you think you're running out of questions. Like, how does he do it?
Yeah.
Last time was interesting against Frankfurt. You know, when he was talking about playing with Serge Gnabry. There's such a great link-up play with him. You know, Harry drops deep, and that's why when Jamal comes back, Jamal Musiala, that'll be interesting to see how his positioning will change. But overall, the way it's going now, you can't praise him enough. He loves it, and I think people in England, they want him back, but there was signals that he doesn't really fancy going back, and that is the best compliment you can make to any club.
Yeah, it looks like he's right at home here in Munich. But you know what? I'm sure the Dortmund fans will be like, all right, you have Harry Kane, we'll raise you our Gurasi. He's been absolutely brilliant too, Derek. And we were having a little conversation earlier on because we know that Dortmund are in the business of selling their best players here and there. And we were talking about the fact that could anybody else be interested in him? Could Dortmund actually hang on to the player that's playing so well right now? But you were saying that there probably might not even be a market for him. Why is that?
Well, I think you look at his age, you look at his history a little bit. He's come to prominence certainly in the Bundesliga these last few years, firstly with Stuttgart and then with Borussia Dortmund. He fits Dortmund the way they want to play. I think under Niko Kovac, he's a natural line leader. Thomas mentioned there Harry Kane drifting into deeper positions. You're not going to see that so much with Guirassy. You know what you're going to get with him. But remarkably consistent, same goals and appearances in all competitions with Dortmund, as was the case with Stuttgart. And selfishly, as a Bundesliga commentator, I actually hope he stays in Dortmund. Why would I want it to be otherwise?
Yeah, exactly, because we want a title race. We absolutely want a title race. And I know, Hitz, you think that if Bayern do win on Saturday, the title race could very well be over. We don't want that. But tell me, how do you see this game going and some of the key matchups that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Harry Kane on end, and that's just different formations as well. You know, with Dortmund playing 3 at the back or 5 at the back, that's interesting because sometimes you see them marking man for man. So a lot of things are possible that we can think about, but in the end, it's got to be the key players. I think Serge Gnabry is in very good form. He could shine. We've discussed Olise in the past many times. So the front players are excellent, but I want to take this opportunity and praise Jonathan Tah because we often talk about big signings. Yeah. He was on a free, but I think he is one of the main reasons why Bayern is so stable defensively. He's organised the back four, and to me, he's one of the standout players.
And then for Dortmund now, how do they contain this Bayern? Because, of course, Bayern are unbeaten, but they're just flying high. Dortmund are also unbeaten. But, Derek, how do you see this one going?
Well, I think Dortmund have been doing it this season in a somewhat minimalistic way. And by that, I mean not necessarily creating a lot of chances, but taking their chances when they come their way. Defensively, very solid. Nico Schlotterbeck being back. He's had a bit of an infection this week, but hopefully in position in time for the game. Schlotterbeck being back, a huge boost. I think the transitional moments are really crucial for Dortmund. I think with somebody like Karim Adeyemi, who can do damage and has done damage in this fixture, they have a card that they could play that might trouble Bayern. I think the problem is this new incarnation of Bayern is not what we saw last season. It's an improved Bayern, but I think Dortmund can stay with them. They're a level below Bayern, but I could see them taking something from this game.
All right, well, 2 more sleeps and it will finally be the day of the Klassiker. It all goes down at the Allianz Arena and, of course, on ESPN. But we're not going to sleep anytime soon because Derek has told us how much fun commentator Craig is, and we wish we knew that Craig. But we're going to try to put back a few of these, right? In Craig's honor. Craig, this one's for you.
Craig,
this one's for you. Prost.
Prost. Zum Wohl, Craig.
Thomas Hitzelsberger's going, who the hell's Craig?
Everybody knows who you are.
By the way,
Craig.
Derek Ray, right, he couldn't even finish that pint. He can't drink chicken soup. I'm telling you, get drunk on a cup of chicken soup.
You have been.
Is that the traditional? By the way, we've got to change that. Every time we send somebody abroad, they do a piece from a restaurant. I mean, somebody's got to come up with something new here. I'm serious.
I like making paella outside.
Yeah, well, that wasn't my idea.
Stuart Robson's actually in Germany.
Yeah, I thought we were sending all our best people. Rob was there.
I think we have.
Oh, Rob. Let's annoy Rob.
I mean, Robbo's there. Robbo's in Germany, but he wasn't with the crew drinking
Well, no,
the beers.
well, he's a very unlikable character, isn't he?
Robbo, I thought you might have wanted a bit of bratwurst or schnitzel, and here you are, all on your own.
Well, I was. They didn't want me in the shot in the first place. They didn't think that I knew enough about German football. They didn't think I wanted to have a beer with them. But Derek wanted to spend a little bit of time with me, making sure the pronunciation of all these dishes and show me what German food was like. So I had to sit down with him for 10 minutes to listen to him prattle on about it. But there we go. That's
The good
Derek.
news is we've actually got the footage. We've actually got the footage of the pronunciation lesson from Derek Ray for Stuart Robson. Here it is.
Yes, welcome to our Bavarian kitchen, and we have 3 dishes to introduce to Stuart.
You haven't cooked them, though, have you?
Would you like me to have cooked them?
Not
or
really, no.
Probably not, no. I can tell you I did not cook them, but I can tell you what each one is.
Yeah.
So, starting here, this is Eisbeinhaxen mit Knödel.
Yeah.
Could you guess what that might be?
It looks very much like a pork knuckle to me, with a couple of dumplings.
Did you cheat?
I might have done, no, but it is. I can see it's pork, and I can see there's some dumplings, and
Yep.
I might just have a little taste of this one.
Okay.
I'm not a pork lover, so I'm going to have the dumpling.
Let us know. Stuart, the taste tester here.
Tastes like a dumpling, yeah. Very nice.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, in the middle, we have traditional Wiener Schnitzel vom Kalb. What would that mean to you? Vom Kalb.
From the calf.
Yeah, so veal.
Now my wife doesn't let me eat veal.
Ah.
She's totally against it, but
I won't tell.
as she's not here, I'm going to dig into this.
Okay. Very good. And also
Very good.
mit
I'll have a little bit of the sauce.
Preiselbeeren with cranberries. That's very traditional here.
Sets it off nicely.
Yeah, it's a nice contrast.
Like that, yeah, that's good.
Okay. And last but by no means least, we have Ente mit Knödel und Rotkohl. You probably recognise this.
Well, because I love a bit of duck.
Okay, so that's
if
what
I go,
it is.
usually a duck as a starter,
Yeah.
but I like this, particularly with the red cabbage.
The red cabbage and the
No, the dumplings, you can forget the
knödel.
dumpling.
Okay.
But the red cabbage,
Give it a go.
give it a go. Here we go. That's good.
Yeah?
Very, very good, I would say.
So which one are you ordering?
Oh, without doubt, the duck.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
It's
So I think, you know what that means? I think when next I see Craig back at headquarters, then the Eisbeinhaxen will be on me. Craig, it's all yours. Okay, back to you.
That's the one with a couple of dumplings in it.
What, could you
There was a
repeat
couple
what
of
he
dumplings
said?
there. There was a couple of dumplings there in that piece. I love being funny. I've said this 100 times. I'm not going to say it again. There's not enough money in the world for me to go in a German restaurant. Unless I'm in Germany and somebody drags me in. I mean, it just looks awful, doesn't it?
Is it because you can't say the names?
No,
of the
it's
dishes?
because the food's terrible.
Stuart, is
The whole
food
of
terrible,
the whole of
though?
Germany.
You've tried it now, and you usually, I know your taste for food, Stuart, but is this to your liking, German foods?
Well, some of it is just like English food, really, isn't it? I mean, it was a bit of duck.
Meat and potatoes.
With some red cabbage. Oh, yeah, meat and potatoes. What was new about it? I mean, Derek's called it all those names, but in fact, I don't even think he knew what he was talking about. I don't think he knew what he was talking about or what they were. He didn't try them, did he? He says he loves Germany. I never saw him try any of it.
He was very into... Are we doing any football in this show today?
No, culture over strategy.
International football will do this to you. It'll drive you to insanity about different stuff. Actually, we should have done this the last 7 days, shouldn't we?
With the German restaurant?
Just people... But, you know, like, it's hardly an Italian, is it? You know, you go in there and they just produce... The chef puts something new and he'll do a nice pizza for you.
I think we needed to get Craig over there to see if they can change his mind.
Well, two things. I don't think I'd be a fan of the food, and I couldn't listen to that for 3 days.
Well, you just
waffling
did.
on about enunciations.
You just did. Yes, that's all we're going to bring you from Germany tonight, because tomorrow there will be a show.
But there's no... We're not talking about...
From Munich. Massive game coming up in the Premier League this weekend. Liverpool taking on Manchester United. Liverpool with those 3 straight losses in all competitions behind them. Manchester United looking to make it back-to-back wins in the Premier League for the first time under Ruben Amorim. Just taking a look at the tail of the tape this season. It's not quite the magnitude maybe it once was between these two sides, with Liverpool in second and Manchester United in 10th right now. However, Liverpool's record behind them not so favourable as it stands, as we welcome in Mark Ogden to talk more about this. Stuart Robson still with us. Let me start with you though, Craig. Who needs to win more, Liverpool or Manchester United?
Well, bearing in mind, you know, we've had that ridiculous statement from Sir Jim Ratcliffe about 3 years, you know, to give Ruben Amorim. They got the win against Sunderland. There's hardly anything really to embolden you, but it was a win. And I think most observers would expect, albeit Liverpool have sort of flattered to deceive for the bulk of this season, I think most observers would expect Liverpool to win. So I think in that sense, barring an absolute pasting, Ruben Amorim can sort of probably wave this one off. I think the bigger of the two, I think the one that needs to win more is Arne Slot. I think there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of questions about the performances. It would be 4 defeats in a row. It would be a defeat at Anfield. It would be a defeat by a very bad Man United side. And it would just bring up more questions. We don't know what the lineup is going to be for Arne Slot. Does Florian Wirtz play? Does Szoboszlai play right back? I don't think that will happen, but we've seen it before. Does Ekitike play, or is he benched again and Alexander Isak plays? Because that's been a topic of discussion, because Isak is chasing his fitness, and Ekitike, up to his stupid booking, where he missed the Palace game, has been arguably their best player, their most influential player, their most dangerous player. So as we sit here now, we don't know the conundrum or the team selection from Arne Slot, which could have obviously has got a big effect on the game. But what we do know, certainly in my opinion, is that he needs to win this game more, because, as I said, 4 defeats and the manner of which this game has come around off the international break, they need to find some momentum. They need to find some balance in their team. They need to get their bigger players, their Gravenberg, their McAllister, all these guys playing well again. Kanate struggled at the back. The back 4 has struggled. Kerkez has struggled. We've talked about Stevie and I haven't talked about bringing Andy Robertson back in, but if you watched Andy Robertson play for Scotland, you wouldn't bring him back in because he struggled there. So there are so many questions I think, from this Liverpool side, that I think it's a big, big, big game for Arne Slot.
We had a similar conversation yesterday. I thought, in terms of pressure on the respective managers, Amorim is under a whole lot more pressure going into this one, and a bad result is... Arne Slot has equity in the bank, given what you saw last season.
But Ruben Amorim can't be fired.
Right.
Well, no, not that he can't. So Jim Ratcliffe could not come out. Right.
Not that Slot is going to get fired either. In terms of managers, I think Amorim is under more pressure. In terms of teams, I feel this is a must-win, or more of a must-win for Liverpool. Given what you've seen from Arsenal, given what you see from City, even though we've been fairly critical, and City haven't played well at times, but they're, 3 points off the top. So there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room. And you're coming into this one, three losses on the bounce. You're at Anfield against your rivals, Manchester United, albeit not the Manchester United of old. I think this is a big game for Liverpool from that regard to again announce that they're here to stay, certainly in this title race to the end of the season.
Okay, are the guys right that Amorim doesn't need to win this as much as Slot does?
No, listen, I think when Man United play Liverpool, both managers need it just as much for different reasons. And I think in this case, you can make a case for Arne Slot needing the win, 3 straight defeats, lose to Man United, that would be a big loss. And obviously with Arsenal going so well at the top, you'd think they'd lose touch. But at least if Liverpool do lose, they're going to bounce back and they're going to finish easily top 3. So their crisis is kind of small-scale crisis if it comes to that. I think if United lose, then we're back into the kind of will he stay, will he go situation. And I know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe said last week that he needs 3 years and that he's a great coach. But when he said that, I took a check back at last year when Jim Ratcliffe said about Erik ten Hag that he's a very good coach, and then 3 weeks later he sacked him. So, you can't really put too much store on what Sir Jim Ratcliffe says because it will be decided by results. So if Ruben Amorim goes to Anfield and loses, then the pressure's back on because the situation United right now is this season they've beaten 2 promoted teams and they've beaten Chelsea, who had 10 men for virtually the whole of the game. They've lost to Grimsby in the Carabao Cup. So the last away win was Leicester in the Premier League in March, and Leicester were relegated by a million miles. So you can't really look at anything that United have done this season to say that they are improving, despite what people at United will try and say that the stats point to this, the stats point to that. Well, the league table says that they're not doing very well. So if they go to Anfield and get the usual result at Anfield, which is a big defeat, yes, they drew there last season, but it tends to be a defeat in recent seasons, then the pressure's back on because people are saying, oh, well, they've got Brighton coming up and Nottingham Forest coming up and Tottenham coming up, as if those are games that they'll win. Well, they lost at home to Brighton last season, they lost at Forest, and I think they lost to Spurs 3 times. So there's no game coming up for Man United that you can say, well, get the Liverpool game out of the way and it'll be a lot easier. So Amorim has to win just as much as Slot.
Let's go back to the Florian Wirtz question, if we can, Stuart, and whether Arne Slot should start him in this game. He dropped him before the international break. Liverpool still lose anyway. What should he do here? Who should he play?
Well, obviously, Florian Wirtz has been a great player at Bayer Leverkusen. He hasn't done it for Liverpool so far. It depends whether Arne Slot wants a solid midfield 3 that can get forward and drop in at the right times, whether he can get more out of the wide right player. But if you've bought a player for that amount of money, you've got to give him some sort of time to settle in, to find his feet. And this might be the right game to do it against Manchester United, who Mark Ogden has just said aren't a particularly good side at the moment. They're inconsistent. I don't think they're very good defensively at times. So Florian Wirtz, at some point, if you've spent that amount of money on a player, you've got to put him in the team and try and get him to find his feet, because he is a good player. He's just got to find the right little pockets of space to do his work. At the moment, it's not working out for Liverpool all around, and a lot of the new signings haven't played well enough. This is the sort of time it's got to change after the international break. These new players have to start showing how good they are.
Manchester United, you could argue, have one of the worst midfields at protecting a back 4. Or a back 3, whatever you want to talk about. A back line. One of the worst. They have no mobility. They have lots of experience, but they have no mobility in there. Casemiro can't do it anymore. Certainly can't do it on his own. Agarty's been hopeless. And it's not Bruno Fernandes's sort of natural job to try and do that. So from that perspective, I think this is an opportune time at home to get Florian Wirtz off and running. Because he's not. Rob will said he has not. He has not played well. And it does take time sometimes to come into a new team. But if they could ignite him at home against one of their biggest rivals historically, against a team that is weak in that position, against a team that he's probably going to get some space in to operate, which is what he wants, and then it's up to him to go and deliver, I think this is the perfect opportunity to build his confidence, to get on the ball, to create things, to make things happen, to get the Liverpool crowd going, wow, this is the player that we thought we were going to get. This is the Florian Wirtz from Germany. This is the guy that is this huge transfer fee. And I think at some point he's going to have to do that, Arne Slot. And I think this is the perfect opportunity because I think it fits the bill. Because United are very weak in that area. Whether he will do it or not, I had this conversation with Stevie. He doesn't think Florian Wirtz will play. Rob, the boys have touched on a more solid 3 in midfield. I don't know. But at some point, you got to put your money where your mouth is and say, look, this is the guy. We need to get him in that 10 role. We need to get him operating. And there are fewer teams, if any, in the Premier League that are going to allow you a lot of space in that area. And so I think it fits the bill to get him into the team.
And let's talk about team news for Liverpool, continuing on this conversation if we can, Mark, and the injury list here. What's the situation with Konate?
It's a doubt, isn't he? He's a guy that might struggle, and obviously when Konate's not fit, then they have got a problem because they haven't got an abundance of centre-halves, having missed out on Mark Gray. So they really need Konate to be fit. I think it's 50-50, maybe even less than that. So Liverpool have got a problem. So what do? Do they bring in Joe Gomez, who we know can do a job, but is he ever going to be fit? He might be fit for 60 minutes. So Liverpool have got a problem at centre-half, and the one area where United are better than last season, I think, is up front. I think Sesko's beginning to settle down a little bit. He offers more of a threat in the sense that he can hold the ball up, he can flick it on, and Boom moves around a bit. Cunha's looked lively without scoring a goal. So Liverpool would need a reliable centre-half against United if United ever get out of their own half to give the ball to the forwards. But I think Liverpool, that is their position of weakness. So yeah, it's a struggle for Konate to be fit, but I think that they've got Gomez to come in if needed. But you know, Gomez is a good player at times, but his injury record has also let him down in the past. Can
that offer some hope then, Robbo, to Manchester United, knowing these defensive issues for Liverpool?
Yeah, because they haven't defended well this season, even with Konate in the side. He's made mistakes. Van Dijk hasn't always read the danger particularly well. The two fullbacks have struggled, whoever those fullbacks have been. So there is space to create against Liverpool at the moment. And as Mark said, Sesko is starting to show that he's got some ability. I thought it's taken him a little bit of time to get going. And Burmo, I think, has been excellent. He's got that little bit of pace. I think he's found the right position, or that sort of inside right position. And Cunha, we know, has got talent. So if those three players can get the ball into those three players with any sort of quality, they will cause one or two problems. But as Craig said, can that midfield of Manchester United, the wing-backs of Manchester United, get the ball into that front three with enough quality? I'm not sure they can, and that's why Liverpool should dominate the game, and why the front players for Liverpool should be the most demonstrative players on the pitch.
Let's talk a little bit about Mason Mount. It's the latest subject of Rob Dawson's article over on ESPN.com. Obviously, we saw an improved version of Mason Mount last time out against Sunderland for Manchester United. Yes, it was against Sunderland, but it was an improved showing from them. How to kick on and build on that for the players and the team?
I think he just needs to stay injury-free. It just seemed that United chased this guy and ultimately spent quite a lot of money on him. And it wasn't necessarily a player, I think, in a position that they were desperate for at the time, but nonetheless, when he has played this season, I think he's looked sharp, and I think he is a player that Amorim likes, and yeah, I mean, it's good to see that he is injury-free. He needs that to continue, but he's tidy. He's a tidy player, and he works hard, and he creates, and he scores the odd goal. So I think it is important that he's fit again. And when I've seen him play this year, he's looked quite lively. That really doesn't concern me, that kind of area of the field for United. I'm not, you know, I kind and Robbo touched on it. They've got some good players there, and if they get the service to them, you know, I think ultimately, you know, they'll certainly cause teams more problems than they did last year. These kind of players don't really worry me. It's kind of the rest of this jigsaw that concerns me. And so, yeah, it's important having these players fit again, but you can only do so much. If the other part of the team is crumbling, then there's only so much the front line of this side can do. But yeah, it's good to see Mason Mount back fit. As again, I touched on Reece James, who's a very, very good player, and he just seemed to have injury after injury after injury, and it seemed that Mason Mount was having the same, and sometimes psychologically, and my God, Robbo and I can attest to this, having spent hours and hours on treatment tables and at different physios. It's soul destroying, and you go out and you're searching for the answer to these problems. And sometimes the more you search, the more difficult it is, and the more problems you get, because you're just trying, you can almost trying too hard. And you're going to this physio and that doctor, and you're trying this rehabilitation. And I don't think supporters understand really what, at times, maybe some do, but I really feel behind the scenes, this is the part of the game that the paying public, the supporters, they don't see it. They don't understand what players go through. That mental torture of wanting to be on the field to help your teammates and your manager, and having 20 minutes here and 10 minutes there and another 2 weeks on the treatment table. It's very tough for any player. So good to see Mason Mount back fit, and hopefully he's going to be an asset to this United side.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the predictions from the panel then for this game ahead. Mark Ogden, 4-1 to Liverpool. What would a bad result like that mean for Amorim, Mark?
Well, it'll just mean that the pressure gets cranked up again. I don't think this game, decides Ruben Amorim's fate. I mean, Eric Ten Hag survived a 7-0 at Anfield for a few more months, but it will kind of set the tone for what comes next. But I mean, the reason they've gone for 4-1 is because they've already conceded 3 at Man City this season. They conceded 3 at Brentford. And as Craig's been saying, that United midfield is just not equipped to deal with Anfield. It just isn't. When Liverpool are good, they come at you in waves. And just the prospect of Casemiro on his own with Bruno Fernandes running all over the pitch, waving his arms in the air, it's terrifying from a Man United perspective because they're just not going to be able to keep Liverpool at bay. So I can see, Liverpool pouring forward, getting a bit of joy because Liverpool's confidence is low. But if they get an early goal and the fans get behind them, it will be an ordeal for Man United. And I just don't see how United can somehow keep Liverpool at bay. They just haven't got the legs, like Craig said. They haven't got the legs or the mobility midfield. Mason Mount is an interesting story at United because he's a very good player, very good technical player. But he's a player they didn't need. He basically plays the same role that Bruno Fernandes wants to play when he's at his best. What they needed was a defensive midfielder who could run, keep the ball and move the ball, and Adam Wharton or Carlos Baleba, but they haven't gone for that. And this summer they had the opportunity to do it again, and they decided to sign 3 forwards instead. You could argue that they didn't really need Sesko. They could have maybe taken a chance on Højlund again this season, which is debatable, but the question is, would you be better with Højlund up front and a world-class centre midfielder, or Sesko up front and Casemiro in midfield? It's a toss of a coin, but I think it would have been better signing a midfielder, and they would have gone to Anfield with such little chance of getting a result.
So Augie went back in the archives during International Week. That's a very clever move to find the quotes from Sir Jim Ratcliffe about Eric Ten Hag being a very good coach and then sacking him 3 weeks later. But he didn't come out at that time with Ten Hag and say we're going to basically give him 3 years. Augie, that's an unbelievable statement to make. Bearing in mind we have witnessed what we have witnessed with this manager, and then potentially having to renege on that is going to make you look even more clueless than you've shown yourself to be thus far.
Yeah, but he said that about Ten Hag having just given him a 2-year contract, so he's almost kind of given the same sort of commitment with Amorim. But no, you're right. I mean, but what will happen is, as you know, that results will dictate it all, and if results are bad, if they lose at Liverpool, then they have got 3 very difficult games. Brighton at home, Forest away, and Tottenham away. They're games that United lost last season, and Amorim's system, as we know, they're struggling with it right now. The players don't seem to buy into it. Everybody knows what United are going to do. I mean, preparing to face Man United must be the easiest job in the world right now if you're a Premier League manager because you know exactly what they're going to do. So Amorim has to start getting some results. And it's all right, Jim Ratcliffe saying he needs 3 years in charge, but if they get to November, December, and they're 10th, 11th, 12th again, and they're going to miss out on Champions League or European football again, and also they're going to miss out on 10, 20 million pounds from finishing low down the Premier League, the prize money with every position is important. So Jim Ratcliffe is saying that right now, but I don't believe it for a minute. I think we get to November and it's the same situation. Amorim's in big danger.
Why would he say it though?
I don't know.
Well, why would you? If Sir Jim Ratcliffe had one of his lackeys, well, that's maybe a bit strong, one of his employees, that Omar Barada or Jason Wilcox, and previously it was Dan Ashworth, if he had one of them coming out and making that statement, he'd probably pull them into the office and say, what the hell are you doing? You're just putting yourself under pressure. But for him to come out and say it, I mean, what's the point?
There's a lot about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and what he's had to say and how much he's had to say that I just don't understand. It mirrors Todd Bowley, especially in those first 2 years at Chelsea. He's just opening himself up for criticism, and if things go wrong, you look back on what he said, and Augie clearly willing to dive into the archives and kind of show how he contradicts himself. Now, so for me, I just don't understand this rule that Sir John Ratcliffe has, Jim Ratcliffe has adopted. It makes absolutely no sense. From a Manchester United perspective, you just feel like you can see what's going to happen here. And I predicted 2-1. I think if Liverpool would take 2-1 right now, if they get that scoreline and Mo Salah scores, Alexander Isak scores, Florian Wirtz, if he starts, has a good performance, they would take that right now. Oddly, so would Ruben Amorim. And you hear the same kind of post-game press conference that you heard after Arsenal to start the season, We've shown, though we've lost, we've shown that we can match it with the big boys in this league. Which is just as frustrating as anything that's coming out of that club right now. Given their struggles, given how poor you've been, kind of clinging to results, narrow losses as a positive, is right in Ruben Amorim's wheelhouse. And that, for me, is where I feel Manchester United have no real sense of accountability as to who they are, what their aspirations are, and it's from the head all the way go down to what you're seeing out on the park.
It's a good time to go to Anfield, though, isn't it? I mean, in terms of the points, they've got the points. They're just behind Arsenal. They're up there, but they haven't played well. Robbo touched on it. They haven't played well from the Community Shield, the Bournemouth game, the first game of the season, all the way through. They've been behind in a lot of games. They've been sort of losing or scoring late goals, which was good for them at some point, but hasn't continued. They've lost 3 straight games. They were ragged in Turkey against Galatasaray. They got completely outworked, outplayed, outthought by Chelsea, and that was not even Chelsea's strongest team. They had 10 injuries, but they got outfought in the mid and outplayed in the middle of the park. Chelsea pressed them. They couldn't handle it. You can get at this Liverpool team much more than you can get at them last year. They're not as effective going forward. So they have a lot of it. Liverpool, that is. They have I know United's issues are clear. Every Tom, Dick and Harry, they've been clear for a while. But Liverpool, and Oggy touched on finishing top 3, which they will. Of course they will. But you don't spend the money. You don't have the type of transfer summer they had to finish top 3. You have the kind of... You go out and you spend huge money on Isak, on Kerkez, on Florian Wirtz, on Frimpong and others to dominate English football, to do what Man City did for 5 years, to do what the old Man United side under Fergie and the Arsene Wenger side under Arsene Thames. It went out and it dominated English football, it dominated games. Liverpool spent money in the summer to do that. They spent money to take themselves to the next level. And that level may come. And they have very, very good players. But the sort of influx of these star players has caused, along with some injuries, to be fair, McAllister doesn't look fit, Gravenberg not quite the same, Konate and Van Dijk not quite the same, Mo Salah, big contract, not quite the same, probably lazier than before, particularly if you watch the Chelsea game. Cucurella ran off him time and time again. That's something for other teams to look at, for your left back, and if you're the left wing back at Man United, you're saying, listen, when we get it, we've got to switch of play because Salah's not tracking back and they're weak in the right back area at the moment, Liverpool. And when he doesn't track back, a midfielder has to get out there. That's what happened against Chelsea. So there are all these things that you can get at Liverpool if United have enough about them. That is the big question. Every team in the Premier League pretty much this year has been able to get at this Liverpool team. The big question is, do Man United have enough about them to get at this weakened Liverpool defence? We're going to find out Sunday, obviously.
Absolutely. Final say goes to you, Robbo.
Well, I think Liverpool will win, but it's a big game for Arne Slot and his Liverpool players, and particularly the new players that have come into the team, because when you're bought as big players, you've got to hit the ground running. You've got to start playing well. And Craig's absolutely right. These players were bought to take Liverpool to the next level so they could dominate English football for the next 3 or 4 years. At the moment, it doesn't look as though that's going to happen.
OK, well, keep up to date with everything that's going on in the world of football and the Gab and Jules show. The latest edition dropped this morning. Don Hutchison's back for a little more chat with Gab, and they'll be touching on everything that's coming up this weekend and what we've seen on international duty behind us. Speaking of international duty, the recent round of action saw England qualify for next year's World Cup with 2 qualifying games to spare. They've also not conceded a single goal in qualifying and won all 6 games under Thomas Tuchel. However, no Jude Bellingham in the recent round of action. Thomas Tuchel's been asked about that and whether he'll be speaking to him. And he said, of course, he's an important player. He's a big player. I will speak to a lot of players, also to the guys that will get a text from me who are not in camp, especially them. No one has done anything wrong. It's not a punishment or whatever. And I feel that when I text them and I speak to them, that everyone is eager to come back. And this is how it has to be. Craig, what do you think of what he's had to say there?
Well, look, this is boring the life out of me. Not Bellingham, per se. Not Bellingham, the Bellingham stuff per se. Just I'll get to this in a minute. Jude Bellingham hasn't played well for a while, right? and there was a perceived attitude issue on the field that Tuchel didn't like. I understand all that, and you can address that, and managers do and have done before. But let me just say, it is easier to leave out big stars and big players and big names when you're playing cannon fodder. And I know it's not England's fault. I know it's not Tuchel's fault. But these qualification games are just a tad short of a waste of time, apart from the fact you're going to qualify for a World Cup. But we know England's going to do that anyway. And, you're walloping Latvia and all these teams. If you go and play Spain and France and Italy and the better teams in Europe, and you're getting beat or you're drawn and your performance is not great, it's more difficult to leave your big stars out. And I don't think Jude Bellingham should be in the England team at the moment, because I don't think obviously he's had the shoulder injury, didn't play particularly well last year. He's just come back, shouldn't have played in the Madrid derby. That was a mistake from Alonso. So he's not ready to step into the England team. But my point is, for any manager, it's much easier to poo-poo some of your bigger, what we would call the old big heads, when you're walloping some of the weakest team in Europe, what England have done. And that's all they have done. I mean, don't read into the qualification. It means diddly squat come the World Cup. Because these teams can't even raise a gallop against England. So, the crunch will be when he needs his big players and in the big moments at the big tournaments in the knockout rounds of the World Cup. That will be the crux of when he goes to the well in these games. Who's he going to go for? Easy to talk about it now when you're walloping the Latvias of the world. More difficult when you're playing the juggernauts of international football, like the big European teams, like the big South American teams. That's when a manager will have to make the big decisions.
Yeah, because to Craig's point, Robbo, the big games and the big tests lie ahead with the World Cup coming next year. Is that when he really does need these big stars to rely on?
Of course he does. But at the moment, if you're the England manager, it doesn't matter, whether you've been there a long time or you haven't been there a long time, you've got to pick players that are fit and in form. At the moment, I don't think Jude Bellingham is fully fit. He's still struggling from his operation. He's been out for a long while, so he's not going to be fully fit. And he's not played well for quite some while. So Thomas Tuchel doesn't have to pick him at the moment. He'll hope that Jude Bellingham over the next few months starts to show the form that he showed a year and a half ago when he got into the Real Madrid side and was scoring goals and playing brilliantly. And he can get back to that, I'm sure of that. And that's when, as Craig said, that's when he'll be needed, when England are playing big teams in the World Cup, because he is one of England's best players when he's playing at his best. But at the moment, he's not fit and hasn't been playing well enough to justify being picked for England.
Before Augie or Shaq want to step in, I think this is nothing against England or Thomas Tuchel, right? They have to. You can only play what you can play. Your group is your group. They're way too strong, and this is what UEFA have been talking about, and making it a little bit more exciting. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, because qualification is qualification, and this is probably always going to be the case. But I think this, from an English perspective, if I'm looking from the outside as someone who lived in England for the best part of 25 years and played down there, is that this is where England and England supporters get, and maybe some in the media, but maybe not all, get carried away. And all of a sudden it's like, Thomas Tuchel's come in, he's ruffled a few feathers, he's talked about some supporters and he's talked about the atmosphere, but he's got these great results against these weaker teams. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, we've finally found the man, this is the guy, he's going to take us to the promised land and all that. And I do feel you'll get a bit carried away with these qualification results. And it's kind of frustrating to sort of watch, because it's akin to an FA Cup tie, like Liverpool or Arsenal playing somebody in League One or something like that. So I don't think it's a barometer.
I agree. But the weird thing for me, looking in from the outside, is this: whatever it is happening between Jude Bellingham and Thomas Tuchel, and he's taking the opportunity, maybe not necessarily Tuchel, but certainly the media around the England camp has taken the opportunity with these good results against Latvia and Wales and whoever else to almost make more of that than it should be. And as everybody has alluded to, Bellingham doesn't deserve to be in the England squad right now, but yet still, he's a topic of discussion because of whatever just happened between those two. Yet, certainly we all agree that come the World Cup, he'll be there, and he'll have to play a significant part, an important part, if England are to go as deep in this tournament as they're expected to. So I just don't understand why all the noise about Bellingham. We know how this story is going to play out.
Yeah, I would be interested to know if you're hearing anything behind the scenes, Oggy, on this whole situation with Thomas Tuchel and the big England stars. Obviously, the players that he has been picking have been delivering for him, albeit against the opposition they've been facing.
Yeah, there's been chat for a while about Bellingham, probably going back to the Euros, where it's a squad of 23, 24 big egos, and we have to admit that if you play at that top level for a top Premier League European club and play for England, you have to have an ego to perform. And there's a suggestion that his ego is bigger than others, and he wasn't massively popular within the camp during the Euros. There was that incident in the final where he gave Gareth Southgate a dressing down during the game. So he rates himself, Jude Bellingham, and I think it rubs people up a little bit, especially when he doesn't do his share of the media commitments that the other players do. Harry Kane is much more important to Bayern Munich in England than Jude Bellingham is to Real Madrid in England. But, Jude Bellingham doesn't do the same kind of media work that Harry Kane does. And I think it rubs people up the wrong way in the camp. But in the sense of why we're all talking about it, well, I mean, the reality is when international football comes around, as the guys know, you have 10 days, 2 weeks of nothing happening, nothing interesting happening. There's no Premier League, no La Liga. So you basically got England. So for 5 or 6 days, you've got nothing to write about or report about than England. And the problem is that issues that aren't really important, like can Morgan Rogers play number 10, become big issues. Jude Bellingham suddenly becomes a 3 or 4 day issue because there's nothing else to get into. So, and that's the thing. He's a big player. He's a world-class player. He's a world name. So people are going to talk about Jude Bellingham. But the reality is, there's no way he's going to miss out on the World Cup unless he's not fit, because this is Thomas Tuchel's only chance to win a World Cup. This is he's got one shot at the World Cup, so he has to take Bellingham. He might not like him, he might not play him, but if he goes to the World Cup and England lose in the second round of the quarterfinals and doesn't take Jude Bellingham, we're like, well, hang on, Thomas, you've left a Real Madrid midfielder out of your squad, so what's all that about? So he'll take him, primarily as an insurance policy to avoid being criticised for not taking him. But when it gets to the World Cup, what's happened against Wales, against Latvia, against Serbia, Morgan Rogers has played really well. But you can't judge him against those teams. You can't judge him against Latvia when the reality is he's going to be measured against France and Spain and Brazil and Argentina, all the teams that England never beat at major finals. So this is the problem. These easy games give you a false picture. Thomas Tuchel's first real challenge could be his last game in charge, a knockout game at the World Cup. So that's why you have this kind of phony war before a tournament, because everybody knows that England are going to coast through the tournament, coast through the qualifiers and get to the World Cup and have the same situation again. When they really, really need their big players to step up against France or Spain, they don't.
I think this is a big... I do actually think, even though I've been sort of rubbishing some of the results, it's not rubbishing them, just the standard of opposition. I do think this Bellingham thing is a big issue, in terms of if you project it forward to the World Cup, and you look at the player's character, you look at the issue with the father at times getting involved with not only Jude but the brother. If you look at the fact that Bellingham is having himself, there is no doubt about that. He's super confident in himself. My opinion is that Thomas Tuchel needs Jude Bellingham to have a really, really good season for Real Madrid going into this World Cup. In the sense that when you get to the World Cup, he plays him. And he's in the team and he's playing well. Because that helps England, clearly. But if he's got a Jude Bellingham who his form is average and he takes him, and as Oggy said, no guarantee in that case he plays, what's the problem then in the squad in the hotel when you're 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away in North America, and you've got a superstar who's brooding, who's unhappy, who may be a problem? Not saying he is, may be a problem, because he thinks he's the best player, he thinks he's the top man, but he's not in the team. That's going to be a real headache for the camp. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen managers kick players out of camp. I've seen players walk out of a World Cup camp when they were told they weren't the number one player, the number one goalkeeper. I saw Andy Gorham do it. He left. And I think Tuchel needs to have Bellingham, for various reasons. For football reasons, he needs him to be playing really well. But I think for the camp reason, for the squad reason, he needs him to be playing well so that he can put him in the team. Because if he's not in the team, the management of this player, I think, during a major tournament could be an issue. And that is going to be, I think, really intriguing to watch. So I think the form of Jude Bellingham is very important for Thomas Tuchel going into this World Cup here in the United States in 2026.
Award. And so we're taking a look at the latest list of nominees, and I need to call on your expertise here, Shaka, because when it comes to how these were picked...
What's the criteria?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It is a list composed of players chosen on algorithm by Football Benchmark Index, and the view is to empirically choose the strongest talents in international football. So what would you make of this, Shaka, given that you are the expert on algorithms?
My name is drawn to Desiree Doué. And the only name that kind of, well, the name that resonates higher than everybody else's, given his form, given the role he played with PSG and their successes last year, and it was by no stretch of any imagination a bit part role. So for me, wow, incredible talents, no question throughout. Desiree Doué by far had the best season last year.
Yeah, no Lamine Yamal on this list. Also, I think he's nominated for the senior award on this, which automatically knocks him out of being nominated in the Golden Boy. He got it last time as well.
It's a real choker.
Anyone stand out to you, Robbo?
Well, I'm going to be biased because I watch Barcelona a lot, as you two do as well. And Kabasi, we always talk about forwards and midfield players, you know, the creative players. But Kabasi at 17 has been absolutely outstanding for a year and a half now. To understand what his manager Hansi Flick wants in playing a high offside line. He's not the biggest, he's not the quickest, but he's just been brilliant ever since he got in the team. He looks so composed, he looks as though he's got a great football brain. So I would go with Kabasi.
Okay.
But it's been a bit of a tricky one from this year, hasn't it? I mean, which I'm sure is not in the algorithm.
Maybe not.
But he's been part of a...
Maybe that algorithm needs tweaking.
I agree with Robbo. He was great last year, and particularly for a teenager.
Say the word, Kay, I know.
particularly as a teenager playing that very risky defensive line that they played, but played it pretty well for the most part, along with Martinez, who was very experienced beside him, which I'm sure was a huge help for him. He hasn't got that this year, which is part of the reason he struggled and Barcelona have struggled. But yeah, he never got much of the headlines when he came into the side because all the headlines were going to some of the other stars, particularly Lamine Yamal. But he did stand out as a youngster who came in and wasn't fazed by, you know, some of these big physical players he was up against in La Liga. So yeah, but I agree, Desiree Doué was just part of that outstanding story, wasn't he?
A few Premier League names in there as well, Mark. You're seeing the likes of Nwaneri, also Nico O'Reilly's in there.
Yeah, Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, which I'm surprised at because they both had, you know, okay seasons at Tottenham, but the Golden Boy. Listen, I think Lamine Yamal should be in it. I think he probably won't win the main award because that'll probably go to Dembele. So if he misses out on that one, then he's the best young player in the world. He's 18 years old and he's not nominated for the Golden Boy. It just seems ridiculous. So the algorithm needs to be tweaked. I think next year when he's 19, he'll still get in it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big into that. It needs to be tweaked.
Just speak to Shaka, say the word, and Shaka will get it all sorted out. But that's how the
Never heard of that before. Just another. Is this a new thing? The Golden Boy?
The Golden Boy. No, it's been around for a little while.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just thought it was another one of these made up, so we could give a medal out to somebody.
Well,
you know how everybody has to have a medal? There's like the school race where every kid has to get a medal, even the one that comes last by 50 yards, in case he gets upset.
Celebrating the games, youngsters. Okay.
It's true, isn't it?
We're not all so young anymore, though. Stuart Robson needs to go to bed now. So
well, I don't know. I mean, he does look as if he's in a funeral parlour. He might have a couple of services.
Big show tomorrow, as the show's coming.
Well,
from
I've had a word with the producer. I had a word with our producer and said what a bad background it was, but he took no notice of me, Freddie. No, took no notice whatsoever.
Have you got any services to do when we leave? Like, you know, go out in the hearse?
Well, Kay's dressed for it.
No, thanks. You've got to learn your German pronunciations, Stuart, so I'll let you go get some rest, OK?
Well, we know he's not going for a pint with Derek.
I will do.
We know he's not going for a pint with Derek because he was in his bed about 7 p.m. German time, which is quite
good for duck and dumplings.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being with us, Stuart. We look forward to hearing more from you. Mark Ogden will be back with us on Extra Time. La Liga is back this weekend. Barcelona back in action, looking to bounce back from that loss against Sevilla. They'll be taking on Girona. We'll also see Atleti against Osasuna around Saturday out. On Sunday, it's Getafe taking on Real Madrid. All of these games available in English and Spanish on ESPN+. And as we mentioned, Mark Ogden will be back to join Craig and Shaka and answer your questions on the latest edition of Extra Time. Check it out over on our YouTube channel. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We've got Craig, Shaka and Mark Ogden here. I've had a text from Dan today. He said the doctor said he's progressing well. And he was in good spirits yesterday. We were
Yeah, he was
chatting to
texting last night.
Yeah, so he was actually offering to show pictures of the liver, which Craig declined.
But I chose to.
Yeah, I'm not.
I wish I declined now.
I wish I had too. OK, on to lighter subject.
I offered to send him up a crate of cold beer.
No, absolutely not.
But he's just to try the new one out, see how it's going.
Absolutely not. All right, let's get started with your questions.
It's good to see that, obviously, and in all seriousness, it's a big ordeal.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, he was quite chilled, relatively chilled about it on the surface, but it was a big ordeal. It is a big ordeal for people. Big long operation and that, so it's hopefully we're at the other end now.
Yeah, his lovely wife did say that when he was first coming round because of the medication, he was talking nonsense.
Okay, no, he was just being him.
Sending all our love out to you, Dan, and we love to keep hearing your updates, as does
We
everybody.
haven't stretched his legs at all when he's in there. It made him like another
All right, let's get your first question up then. I'm actually not sure which way around these go. I think it's this one. Okay.
Well, try it with the right way up. I would imagine.
It's the right way.
I would imagine the question started at the top.
It's not great. I've just started to get my first readers, so let's see how we do. All right, Shaka, I think the first question's for you. Your World Cup odds really have Mexico above Holland, Germany, and even Colombia. Is the algorithm a myth?
You know, I have a confession to make. I just kind of forgot about Holland. And I'll be honest, I've paid zero attention to European qualifying. All usuals are going to qualify. It's because of this extended format and how many European teams are going to qualify. I really have paid zero attention to it. It's just, it feels predictable. I've paid zero attention.
Does the algorithm just not like international teams?
Hold on. Hold your horses. Whoa there, whoa there, whoa there.
Right, let me give the explanation.
Mexico, there's two teams in there. Are you trying to
let me
heal some wounds?
No. Here's what I said yesterday.
Norway.
Here's what I said.
They beat Moldova 11.
Here's what I said yesterday.
They've not beat the World Cup.
Hold on. Here's what I said yesterday. I don't think anybody outside of the top four are going to win the World Cup. So now I'm looking for who gets deep runs in the tournament.
The United States.
I think Mexico and the United States will get deep runs because they'll get very easy draws as host nations.
He says the deep run is the last 16 now.
Norway. I know they've been better recently, Norway, but they haven't been to a World Cup since I played against them in 1998. I mean, neither of our lot, but they're not on the top 10.
Mark, I wonder what you've got to say about this.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Norway is so high, I've got to say. And, I know they got Erling Haaland, but, not sure about that. I think Portugal are the team that could surprise, and obviously the Ronaldo situation never goes away, but they've got a lot of good players, Portugal, and if they can get a run together, they're certainly a team. I saw them win the Nations League last season, and, they're capable of beating anybody in the day. So I'd say Portugal is a little bit higher than Norway.
You ready? Okay, I think he's been taking some heat on the socials as well.
The United States and Mexico.
Somebody wrote to me. I tell you, I bet they get to round of 16. One of the two of those.
If they get a soft soap draw.
They'll get a soft draw as hosts. They'll always get a soft draw as hosts.
Okay. Well, you can always change your mind in a World Cup. It's not.
Well, they did beat the mighty. To be fair, they've drew Ecuador.
Beat Australia.
Which some of our colleagues went a little bit OTT as per. And then they beat the mighty Australia at home.
It was their first defeat under their coach, Australia.
Tony Popovic. When have Australia ever been a juggernaut?
You love this international.
I know.
You're all over all the international.
I think you should be on Football Americas. You know a lot.
You could have my spot.
Listen, don't be silly. Listen. It's not professional to not watch the qualifiers.
No, I don't want to watch European qualifying.
Neither did I.
Except for the days you're on, obviously.
I don't watch.
All right.
It's hard. It's a hard watch.
Mark, I love this question. Would Mark be a happier lad if he, say, covered Real Madrid or maybe Mallorca for a few years?
There's an idea.
I am happy. What
Okay, why have they shoehorned you into this sort of Mr. Grumpy? I've had the same over the years.
I don't know. It's probably because I'm
That's annoying.
That's not helping Mark Eddie, by the way.
Listen, I'd be more than happy to go to Real Madrid and cover Real Madrid for a while because Madrid's one of the best cities in Europe. So, but no, I'm more than happy with my lot in the Premier League. I see plenty of good football at Anfield, at the Emirates, at Stamford Bridge, at the Etihad. Not so much at Old Trafford, but there's plenty going on in the Premier League. So, no, I'm happy enough as it is.
Okay.
Don't make Mark any happier.
I tell you what.
Don't make Mark any happier, whatever you do.
You put Augie next to Rob Dawson. Oh my God. He's comedic.
You have to be like that if you're in the Manchester region. It's fitting. It's rainy.
Horrible, miserable.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, there's not like people say that. Honestly, it's like it's just a job, isn't it? You can't just sit here and go. You can't.
I mean, you can if you want.
No, that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, but sometimes you need words.
All right.
Come on, questions.
Milan is supposedly annoyed at how Pochettino and the US men's national team handled Pulisic during this past international window because he was risked when there were no points involved and Pulisic was dealing with an ankle issue. Does Milan have a valid point, Checker?
The US are not going to play where there's points involved till next summer. But at some point, they have to start playing what you think, or shades of what you think of their best team. Now, and how serious that ankle injury is down to Christian Pulisic to say to the coach to play or not, or what kind of role he plays. So I don't put this on Pochettino at all.
Do you remember Jan came out with that one of his ridiculous statements? I'm just going to go through all the pundits. Do you remember Jan came out and said, when Bayern Munich were going to ridiculously threatening to sue Canada over Alphonso Davies getting an injury. And we all said, never heard so much garbage in my life. And Jan said, I think they got a case. Which, absolutely ridiculous. But where these, my point is, how do you stop this? A manager back in the old days, managers just stopped players going. Come up with any old, I've seen it, I was part of it, any old codswallop of a story and a player wouldn't go. But the rules and laws around the international break have changed now. And Pulisic was fit to start the game. Pochettino's he's under pressure. They haven't played particularly well. He's searching for the right back. So this is just another club v country war of words. Bayern Munich in Canada, Milan in the US.
Barcelona in Spain, Lamine Yamal.
It happens. Club managers do not want their players playing in games that are seemingly meaningless. But they're meaningless to the club manager, but they're not, and to us maybe, but they're not meaningless for the most part to the international manager who's under pressure and he's trying to figure out the best way forward to get the best results. So it's just tough.
Yeah, tough. All right, for Mark, any truth to the UAE consortium takeover news?
Well, I mean, this always raises its head when United have a bit of a bad patch and that there's a little bit of stuff behind the scenes, but I don't think it's as credible as some United fans would hope it would be. The UAE, certainly Abu Dhabi, have got Man City cornered, and Dubai have never really shown any major interest in buying a football club. They had a flirtation in Liverpool maybe 15 years ago, but nothing came of Dubai's interested in horse racing. So I don't see the UAE being a serious proposition for Man United right now. I think the Glazers are happy there. They don't want to sell because they see more money coming down the line from various different things. So I think the UAE thing is just a bit of a red herring.
Okay, another one for you, Mark. What's going on in terms of a salary cap and which clubs would and wouldn't like?
Well, this is part of the Premier League that they're trying to vote on what's called an anchoring system, which I won't kind of bore you guys with the details of it, but it basically means that it's a kind of a salary cap by stealth. But it's never going to work for the biggest clubs in the Premier League, because the moment the Premier League has a salary cap, it means that they can't compete with Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, the clubs in Saudi Arabia when it comes to paying the best players, because the best players will go where the money is, and the money won't be in the Premier League anymore. So it's just not feasible. Why would the Premier League vote for a system which makes the league weaker and less exciting, less attractive to the best players? So I don't see who it suits and why it's even being suggested.
The old turkey voting for Christmas routine, isn't it? Not that turkeys can vote. Don't believe so. They wouldn't vote, would they? Shaq?
Yeah.
You like turkey?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And Christmas.
Huh?
I like turkey and Christmas. I'd vote for them both.
Mark, you're a popular boy today. Mark, is Jude Bellingham overrated? Would he make the starting 11 for Spain or France?
Do you know something? I think he is. I think he's overrated. I think he had a great start at Real Madrid, and I think he's kind of living off that first 3 months at Real. Look, he's a good player, he's a top player, but is he in Real Madrid's top 5 most important players? Might squeak in at number 5, but I don't. I think the situation with Bellingham is I don't quite know what his best position is. I don't think he does either. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's not. I don't think he works hard enough to be an attacking midfielder. So I don't quite know what he fits in. So I think there is probably a little bit of his reputation has been embellished a bit because he plays for Real Madrid, and yeah, I think he is overrated. There you go.
Who outside of Harry Kane in the England squad gets into France or Spain squad? A little harsh, that question.
I think Declan Rice plays for. I think Declan Rice is good enough as a midfielder. Yeah.
You watch Jude Bellingham a lot, though. Do you think it's harsh to say that he's overrated?
Well, I think he has to prove himself again. That first 6 or 7 months of his first season, when we sat here and every weekend and went, my God, this is incredible. Not generally his all-round performance, but popping up at the right place at the right time. Another goal, another winner. There was a great goal in his first Klassiker he played at the Montjuic, I believe. 2 goals late on. But if you look back at those, a lot of that goal-scoring feat that he was on at the time, a lot of it, the ball sort of just dropped to him. Now, he did score a couple of fantastic goals and made some great runs, but there was a few of them where the ball sort of bobbled around and he was right place, right time. Once that goes away, then there has to be other facets to your game. And that certainly went away last year under Ancelotti.
Everybody struggled last year under Ancelotti.
And that's what I'm saying, he wasn't the only one, and he was shifted from pillar to post, as Valverde was, as Camavinga was, and others. So that sort of neutralised what we saw this season before. But I do think he has. I think it was a big mistake not to have the surgery at the end of the season. Maybe there was pressure on him from inside Madrid to go to this ridiculous Club World Cup. I don't know, but I think for any player that's a mistake. You have to give yourself the best pre-season, the best chance to start the season, particularly when you're under as much pressure at a club as Real Madrid. So to answer the question, I'm not sure overrated is the right word, but I don't think he's a guaranteed starter. And even though Alonso put him in that Madrid derby, which was a managerial mistake, and that wasn't Bellingham's fault, I do feel that unless he really pulls his weight, I don't think, never mind England, I don't think he's a guaranteed starter for Real Madrid.
So then, I think it's still a little early to say whether he will be under Xabi Alonso. To your point, had this outstanding first season for Real. Was he third in the Ballon d'Or voting? But then last season, nobody lived up to that previous season's expectation, whether we're talking Vinicius Jr., you look through all Real Madrid squad, nobody had the season that they did 2 seasons ago. So, and then, you're right, for some reason, Real Madrid kind of made the Club World Cup a priority and him playing in that, and so he's just coming back. So I find the question a little premature.
Okay. Well, time will tell.
Okay, I'm just being a bit. I'm being a little bit facetious here, but just bear with me a minute. If you switch Scott McTominay and Jude Bellingham from Napoli and Real Madrid, would you notice a difference? I mean, in terms of what they do.
Don't know, Mark, would you?
At the moment, I think Bellingham, yeah, it just sounds a bit silly, but Bellingham's got more to his game, all-round game. But in terms of being a threat in the opposition box as a midfielder, then at the moment you would have to say McTominay's a bigger threat.
I'm having Bellingham all day long. Over McTominay, I'm having Bellingham.
No, I mean, I don't think it's not. Well, listen, I don't think we should. You know, look, I think we have some credibility here to guard against. We're not comparing Scott McTominay and Jude Bellingham as players. No, and Oggie's not doing that. He's just saying currently, the way McTominay's taking his game to the level as he did in Italy, as arguably one of the biggest midfield threats from deep, scoring goals. Bellingham has to get back to that. This is bread and butter, isn't it? Because he's not an intricate. He's not a Modric or a Kroos, is he? His game's about physicality. His game's about running. You know, running with the ball, running and timing of runs. You know, Frank Lampard did that. I think, and you know, Frank was a young player when I was coming through, and then I watched him and commentated on him. Frank maybe had odd parts of his game where he wasn't a Steven Gerrard with his passing range or a Paul Scholes, but year on year, he was delivering goals and goals and goals, driving into the box, shots from outside the box, timing his runs, and he was brilliant at it, and he perfected the consistency pretty much of that. That's what Jude Bellingham needs to do. And you know, time will tell whether he's going to do that consistently at Real Madrid. I don't know. Yeah. Big year for him. Big season for that boy.
Yeah.
Big season for him.
And La Liga getting back underway this weekend. We'll be talking a lot more about it, no doubt, on the later editions of Extra Time. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll be back tomorrow.